The Nordfjord is one of Norway's major fjords, but most tourists only see a tiny piece of it. They dock in Olden on a cruise ship, take a bus to a glacier, and leave. We drove the whole inner and central part, from the famous Loen Skylift and the glacier valleys all the way to a mountain road from the 1800s and a lake that is the deepest in Europe. We will show you what is worth stopping for. And we will tell you about a beautiful lake with a devastating history that most travel guides don't mention. The Nordfjord is located in western Norway, roughly between Bergen and Ålesund, north of the Sognefjord. It stretches over 100 kilometers from the coast to the innermost valleys. We are focusing on the inner and central part in this video. We start where most people want to go, Loen. The Loen Skylift takes you from the fjord to the summit of Mount Hoven at 1,011 meters in 5 minutes. At its steepest point, the gradient is 60 degrees, making it one of the steepest cable cars in the world. At the top, there is a restaurant with a panoramic view over the Nordfjord, the Stryn Glacier, and Lake Lovatnet. When the skylift was being planned, there was local opposition, but at the opening on the 20th of May 2017, Queen Sonja responded, "Not everyone can walk up the mountain, so it is good that more people get to enjoy the view." Since then, new cable cars have been built at Voss and in Åndalsnes, but proposed projects in Odda and directly to the Stryn Glacier are facing much fiercer opposition. Norway still has room for more cable cars. In Switzerland, a mountain is only considered important if it has one. From the top, there are hiking trails for all levels, and a via ferrata with a 120-meter suspension bridge, the longest via ferrata bridge in Europe. If you are on a budget, you can hike to the summit instead. When cruise ships are docked in Olden, the skylift gets very busy. Try early morning or late afternoon. Loen has also become very popular amongst paragliders. They take the skylift and fly from the summit. The landing place is not far away, so one can do many flights a day. Hotel Alexandra is a historic hotel operating since the 19th century and one of the owners of the skylift. For serious hikers, Mount Skala at 1,848 meters is nearby, the site of one of Europe's toughest uphill races. Just south of Loen is Olden, the cruise ship gateway. Around 100 cruise ships visit each year, bringing over 140,000 passengers. When those ships are in, the village with around 500 inhabitants is completely overrun. When we were there, no ships were docked. The shops were closed, the streets empty, all the buses parked. This quietness is like normal when we came to Olden in the early 2000s and 10s. In the village center, there are 5 outlet stores which are open even without cruise ships. There are 2 churches. The old Olden church dates from 1759 with elements from an older stave church. The newer one was built in 1934. From Olden, a valley goes south to the Briksdal Glacier, about 25 kilometers away. Kayaking on Oldenvatnet is also popular, though the glacial water is cold.
So beautiful here.
Briksdal is the most famous arm of the Jostedalsbreen, the largest glacier on the European mainland. It used to be Norway's most visited and most accessible glacier. There is a 2.5 kilometer trail from the Briksdalsbreen mountain lodge to the viewpoint, passing the Kleivafossen waterfall. Troll cars can drive you most of the way. They replaced the horse and cart service that had run for nearly a century. We visited in 2012. And back then, you could row a boat across the glacial lake and touch the ice. That experience no longer exists. Walking on the glacier had already ceased a few years prior to that. In the 1990s, Briksdal was one of the only glaciers in Europe that was actually growing. By 1997, it covered the entire lake at its base. Then, from 2001, it went into catastrophic retreat. By 2015, the tongue had retreated so far that length measurements were discontinued. Today, what you see is an icefall high up on the mountain, not a glacier tongue reaching down to a lake. Along the trail, there are markers showing where the glacier was at different points in history. The one from 1860 is remarkably far from where the ice is today. The walk is still pleasant, but do not expect the glacier experience that the old tourism photos show. From Loen, the road continues east into Lodalen along Lake Lovatnet. This is one of the most beautiful valleys in Norway. The water is emerald green from glacial meltwater. The mountains rise steeply on both sides. But this lake has a devastating history. On the 15th of January, 1905, 350,000 cubic meters of rock broke off from the mountain Ramnefjellet and crashed into the lake. The tsunami reached 40.5 meters. 61 people were killed, half the population of Bodø and Nesdal. The tourist boat DS Lodalen was thrown 350 meters inland. The rusty remains still lie hidden between the trees along the road. Beside the road between Bodø and Skjendal, a copper plaque lists the names of those whose bodies were never recovered. The communities rebuilt. Then, on the 13th of September, 1936, it happened again. The same mountain, 1 million cubic meters. The tsunami reached 74 meters. 74 people killed. The memorial from 1905 was ripped away by the wave. After the second disaster, Bodø and Nesdal were never rebuilt. 135 people died in total. It is Norway's biggest modern natural disaster. The scars are clearly visible on Ramnefjellet. When you drive along the lake, look up. You can see exactly where the rock broke off. Twice. These disasters inspired the Norwegian film Bølgen, The Wave, from 2015. It is set at the Geirangerfjord. It was Norway's submission for the Academy Awards. A few kilometers from Loen, you pass Briksdal, an old summer farm and one of the most photographed spots in the valley. At the inner end, there is Skjendalstua, a cafe where you can rent canoes or take the tourist boat MS Skjendal, 2 from Sande. Cycling along the lake is popular. 16 kilometers, mostly flat. At the very end, the road continues to the Briksdal Glacier viewpoint. Unfortunately, it was a disappointment. The glacier is about a kilometer away, up on the mountainside. In 1997, it reached within 600 meters of the parking area. Today, it is far away. Rakksetra is an old mountain summer farm above Oppheim between Loen and Stryn. It became popular during the corona pandemic when Norwegians started exploring places they had driven past for decades. Do not expect to be alone on a nice summer day. The farm is privately owned, camping is not allowed. We have a separate video about the hike. When driving from Stryn to Nordfjord, take the Panorama Road along the fjord. This is road 613. It climbs above the fjord and gives you a view over the whole region from above. At Ulvedal, you can stop at Sagedammen, a restored old sawmill site with a water-powered frame saw. The locals have built a cultural heritage trail here. The shorter loop passes a gorge viewpoint and a botanical garden. The longer one passes 7 restored water mills and leads to the Vettestuva, a 1,000-year-old beacon watchtower from the old fire signal system. It is the only one in Norway still standing in its original location. From the nose viewpoint, you look straight down about 500 meters to the fjord. Stop at Tvinnefossen waterfall if you have time. It is said to be the largest in Northern Europe where you can walk behind. The official parking is at Randabygda School, about a 15 to 20 minute walk. If you enter Tvinnefossen in your navigation, it will take you to a place above it. There is a sign pointing to the correct parking. Then you arrive at Lotte, where there is a ferry to the other side. Nordfjord is the second largest town along the Nordfjord, with a lot of Viking history. We have a separate video about it. Hornindalsvatnet goes down 514 meters below the surface. That makes it the deepest lake in Europe. The surface is only 53 meters above sea level, so the bottom is 461 meters below sea level. Unlike the lakes at Olden and Loen, Hornindalsvatnet is not fed by glacial meltwater, but by snowmelt and rain. That is why the water is exceptionally clear and does not have the typical turquoise color. In 2006, a remotely operated vehicle reached the bottom for the first time. They found small white fish, 5 to 15 centimeters long, a variant of Arctic char isolated since the last ice age. Life in complete darkness, 500 meters below the surface. You might have read online that the lake has green sand beaches. That is fake news. The lake is mostly surrounded by steep cliffs, and locals have never seen any green sand. Here at Explore Norway, we go and verify ourselves. We can only cover so much in a video. For the full stories when you're in Norway, check out the Explore Norway app. Link below. Stryn is the main town in the region and the biggest tourism municipality in western Norway outside the cities. Around 7,000 people live here, doubling during tourist season. The town has shops, restaurants, supermarkets. Everything you need. By the Lake Strynefjellsvegen, you will find the Visnes Hotel, operating since 1887. In Stryn, there is the Jostedalsbreen National Park Center, designed in the style of a Viking longhouse on the shore of Strynefjellsvatnet. Further east is Gjella, a quiet village with the Gjella Hotel, a Swiss-style wooden hotel built in 1896. It has been run by the same family for 4 generations. Queen Wilhelmina of the Netherlands stayed there repeatedly, and the hotel still has a greeting card she painted herself. The Gamle Strynefjellsvegen is County Road 258, one of Norway's designated scenic routes. It runs 27 kilometers between Videsæter and Grotli, reaching 1,139 meters at the highest point. Most people take the new road with the tunnels, but the old road is one of the most beautiful drives in Norway. It was built between 1889 and 1894, entirely by manual labor. Locals from Skjåk, Swedish workers and men from Gudbrandsdalen worked 10-hour days to carve it through the mountains. The stone masonry walls are hand-built. The guardstones along the road were the crash barriers of the horse and cart era. The road is now a listed landmark. The first 10 kilometers from Stryn are paved. The last 17 kilometers towards Grotli are gravel. Vehicles over 8 meters and axle loads over 8 tons are not allowed on the Grotli side. The road is only open in summer, usually June to September. Until the 1950s, opening it in spring required 200 men with spades. Along the road there are the Videfossen and Øvstefossen waterfalls and turquoise mountain lakes. The Stryn Summer Ski Center opened in 1972 on the Briksdal Glacier at 1,065 meters. A chairlift goes to around 1,300 meters. Season is late May to mid-July, with an average snow depth of 6 meters on the 1st of June. There are alpine slopes, a terrain park, and cross-country tracks. If you are continuing your road trip, check out our video about Lom and Jotunheimen if you are heading east, or our Geiranger video if you are going north.